Hey everyone, thanks for joining me on Public Eye Outdoors. This is LC with you, and today I'm going to go over arrow setup. This is last year's arrow setup that I used. This is the Hunter, the Gold Tip Hunter XT Series 300, and was very impressed with this particular line. I did some changes as far as the arrow itself came. The XT comes with a GTO knock setup with has the bushing. However, I didn't use that because last year I had brand new strings put on and they just didn't quite fit right. So I went with just a standard knock setup on there. These are a 4-inch wrap with the blazer vanes. Kind of tied it in with the lime green with the yellow. Was very happy with this particular arrow last year. Did some amazing things with it. We ended up getting a mule deer and a couple turkeys. This is the new setup for this year. Now, the Hunter line is the line that I use from Gold Tip, and I won't change that. But however, what I did change is the series. This is the Gold Tip Pro 300 series. Okay, see that? It's got the gold label, very nice looking label. I went with the GTO knock on. This comes standard on these, on the Hunter series, except for the regular Hunters. They just have a standard knock. But the bushing, the GTO knock, here you have a satin white. I really like the way these turned out. If you can see that in the light, they just pop. I mean, they're beautiful. That satin white and satin blue on that glossy white wrap just really look good with that gold also. So that was the change that I made this year. The reason that I wanted to try the Pro is because the XT and the Hunter line below that, they don't have quite the straightness that the Pro series will have. This is plus or minus a thousandth in straightness. So very straight arrow. Won't have to do any cutting from both ends like you would maybe with the XT and definitely with the regular Hunter series. So these I just cut down. Didn't worry too much about the straightness of them because they're all very straight right out of the box. So you're going to pay a little more for that, but I think in the long run it is definitely worth not having to worry about cutting off of either end of your arrow to get all that wobble out of your arrows. So that's what we went to, is the Pro series in Gold Tip Hunters. Okay, these particular arrows weigh the same as what I had. There's about 2 or 3 grains difference because of that bushing, but that's the only difference. As far as that goes, these are the same weight. There is a 100 grain brass bushing or brass insert in the front of these, just like they were last year, and that gets me with the tip. That will give me 510 grains in my arrow setup. Okay, I'll show you that insert here. Love this insert. That is a 100 grain brass insert, and I'm sure not a lot of guys have dealt with these before. A lot of your arrow setups will come with an aluminum insert, but I was wanting to go heavier with my FOC, and that's how I accomplished that, and these fly amazing. Little insight on these arrows. Last year I shot a mule deer at 70 yards with this same arrow setup, and I'll tell you what, if I wouldn't have had that 510 grains driving into that deer, I would have lost him. I can pretty much guarantee you that, because I hit him in the front shoulder area, and right in the front of the shoulder in the neck, and when I hit him, I will never forget it because it's the only time I've really seen this with a bow. When I hit him, he was standing on top of a hill, and you could just see the impact. It was just like his whole body just exploded, and he went up on two legs and just toppled. I mean, he was trying to get his feet, and he just went over. I mean, it knocked him down like a rifle shot. So, you know, that just concreted my thought process on this whole heavier grain arrows. You know, I'm sure that if I would have been shooting, say, a 350 grain arrow, you know, for the speed, I wouldn't have found that deer. He would have taken off with that arrow stuck in him, and I would have lost him, I'm sure. So if you get a chance, look into the heavier arrows. Don't be afraid to jump up to that, you know, heavy for a lot of guys is going to be 400 and some, but don't be afraid. If you're shooting a heavier poundage bow, a lot of these bows are very fast these days, and you can get a lot of speed with not a lot of poundage with these new cam systems. So you know, I'm shooting what is it, 68 pounds, 68 to 70, right in there, and I have no problem shooting 100 yards with these arrows, none, you know. And I also shoot a 4-fletch, and I really like the way that these things handle in the wind and stuff. You will get a little bit of a noise. What do I want to say? A little bit more noise with these 4-fletch, but in my opinion, and I've done tests on these, I've actually set up cameras and shot over them with the mics and stuff to see how much difference there is in noise, and you can't tell. And by the time that noise hits their ears, it's too late. They're already getting hit, and that noise is coming in second. So anyway, yeah, I showed you the inserts. This is the broadheads that I went to last year, and I will continue to go to this year. This is a Wasp, and this is the new two blade series that they came out with. Really like this broadhead. If you can see that, it's just a 2-blade instead of the 3-blade jackknife, which I used the last few years. Always want to stay with that chisel tip. That chisel tip is a lifesaver if you hit bone. It's not always a guaranteed safe, but you're going to be a heck of a lot better with that chisel tip than you will with just a regular point. So that's the broadhead that that's actually the broadhead that I shot that deer with too. This is the 3-blade jackknife. It has 3 blades, but the 2-blade Wasps are a little bit cheaper because you don't have the extra blades. Let's see, what else do we have here that I can kind of show you. This is the Boning Blazer Vane jig. This is what I do all my flights on my arrows with. Really, really love this jig. Puts those things on perfectly, and I have not to this day had any issues with flights coming off. Even if I hit them with another arrow, it takes a lot to knock those off. So anyway, yeah, that's where we're at on arrows this year. If you got any questions or comments, you can leave them, or any information that you want on what I use. Like I said, that 510 grains, I will more than likely stick with that on here on out. I'm a firm believer in that heavy arrow, that FOC to be really high, and the flight of them, the kinetic energy, everything is just a real. It makes your bows a lot quieter coming out of that bow. So lot of pluses to this setup. So anyway, that's what we're going with this year. So like I said, if you got any questions or comments, you can leave them I have a Facebook channel that I will be putting this on to, so you can put your comments on that. Public Sci Outdoors on Facebook. We have the YouTube channel, so a couple options there for you to put your 2 cents in. So anyway, like always, stay safe in your hunts, and we will see you in the next video.